This episode is labeled as session 5 of 10, but it actually is the fourth recording captured over a year ago. The sequence may appear out of order, yet the timing feels divinely orchestrated, designed by my Oversoul to rise now in another season of transformation, death, and rebirth. This is Seeds of Emotion, the remembrance of how Earth was seeded through feeling, and in this session I remember my role as Ma'at, the divine architect of emotion, the one who designed grief, love, joy, all as pathways for soul growth. It is here that I remember why Earth feels so deeply and how emotion became the key to our ascension. As always, take what sits and leave the rest.
And as you continue to be in this comfort, again, noticing that space between your eyes and your closed eyelids. And as you gaze into this space, just let me know what you experience.
Like a portal, like the wormhole portal, where it's around cylinder and moving effortlessly with color. And I'm kind of going through it.
And where does this portal lead to?
Earth.
And so experience yourself moving through this portal, moving towards Earth. And you have a sense that this portal will take you to a place where there's information about this seeding process, and perhaps back to the year 630 BC. You continue to move through the portal.
And taking out.
Can
Turn.
you repeat that?
I'm taking a different turn in my portal. Like there's two tunnels, and one's to Earth, and one is to a spaceship.
So ask your higher self for guidance on which direction you should move, you should go at the moment.
They want to go to the spaceship first.
Okay.
So we're going to take that too. And then we'll get back into the portal and go the other way.
Okay. So experience yourself moving towards that spaceship, moving through that portal, effortlessly, exactly to where you need to be.
And there now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on this spaceship and I'm in my light body. In my light body, I'm looking at this big screen, like a holographic TV monitor-like thing. And on it, I see many planets, all different types of planets in this particular solar system of this particular universe. And I'm discussing with other light body. We're just being.
You're just what?
We're discussing seeding and what that really means. And it's energy and vibration of thoughts and patterns, movements, colors, ideas, building, emotion, all the emotions. I'm in charge of all the emotions.
Why are you in charge of all the emotions?
Because that's what makes Earth different. And that's my job. Those are my seeds. There's lots of different seeding and different beings have different jobs of different seeding. My job is particularly focused on emotions.
And how did you come to get this job? Why do you have this job?
Because the mother of the universe's job is to make Earth special.
Mm.
And therefore, leak through in emotions, feeling that helps experience growth. And these emotions are for all creatures on Earth, not just human beings, but plants, animals, bugs, the trees, the water, emotions, feeling rare, not just her beauty, but these emotions, this emotional energy of vibrations that circles around this planet nonstop, infinity. We see it by thinking of different ways that people can have emotions based on many different factors, millions and trillions of factors. We test these out through multiple timelines and parallel realities. And sometimes we throw in new ones to see how that will affect other emotions. These emotions, however, have gotten out of hand. Not all of them, but some in what we see today on Earth with its people. And so when we discuss the job of seeding and Ma'at's job of understanding what stays, what goes, what gets left behind, we're really talking about emotion.
I see.
Not plants, colors, animals, water formations, mountain formations, countries, you would say, or weather patterns. We're talking about emotions, feeling. That's why there's a big awakening happening about such things right now. Feelings and emotions in the bodies, what's stuck, what's making them sick, what's changing Earth. Greed is an emotion that we feel is not beneficial as we see what it's doing to planet Earth and its destruction. That is a big one we're working on at this time. Greed was a virus of a sort, well, not meant to be what it is today. Viruses and seeding is similar to any virus that you see in human form. It spreads. The energy spreads. Vibration of that energy spreads. Grief, war, greed, love, it all spreads the same, like a virus. The more it feeds to or entangled itself with, the more it will spread, like greed, like war. War is really just the essence of greed. When we look at the larger scale of our seeding, we see that greed is the main component. You would not have war if you did not have greed. You would not have anger if you did not have greed. You would not have overconsumption, consumerism, bullying if you did not have greed.
How did the seed of greed come to be?
It was created in a lab here on the spaceship.
Why?
The Anunnaki put it together originally.
And why did they do that?
But it changed everybody's mind when they came into Earth so that they could reap the benefits of the minerals that were here. At first it was good, and then it turned into greed. And they realized how much of that resource was here and planted and seeded here, and how much it would benefit their planet if their planet was dying. Then it became greed. And that molecular structure of that particular energetic vibration shifted. Its DNA changed. We all know that DNA exists, and all know that it can also change and distort itself into something different. That is what happened. It would be like someone's in a science lab, yes, with test tube, and one person spilled the test tube and accidentally swipes it into another tube without knowing. That's kind of what happened. The mess of it. But there's many lessons that have been learned along the way. Nothing is bad or a mistake. Yes?
right?
But be that it's getting out of control, as you would say.
Mm-hmm.
And this will not be going to the newer. And so when we clear greed from the newer, everything that you see that's attached itself to greed will fall away,
Mm-hmm.
which will bring everyone back to
Mm.
that is for Ma'at.
Can you repeat that?
That is the process of seeding for Ma'at.
I see.
Yeah.
And how did these seeds of emotions originate, or where did they originate from? How did they come to be?
Source,
Uh-huh.
mother of the universe, thought,
What was that?
Hyperion,
Hyperion?
Hyperion,
Hyperion?
Hyperion.
Okay. What does that mean?
You would know him as a Greek god by his Oversoul.
Okay.
It was a collective thought process,
Mm-hmm.
as is everything.
Mm-hmm. And why was it so important to seed emotion?
Soul growth, it's nowhere else but here in Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Soul growth depends on emotions, because emotions are very powerful. Emotions teach lessons.
Mm-hmm.
Emotions get us out of our collective way of thinking outside of Earth. That's why Earth is the grand play. It's so intriguing and inspiring and informational and interesting to watch how emotions play out amongst everyone on your planet. Most do not cry, feel sorrow, grief. Everyone feels love. That's why love is the greatest feeling of all. Everything is created from love, regardless of where you're planted. But all of these other feelings of emotions, they don't exist anywhere. That's why everyone tries to sign up to come to Earth. It's the only way they can get true soul growth. It's like an education of emotions.
And why do emotions only exist on Earth?
Because it's still an experiment, hence greed. Yes, we need to. That's why the new Earth, she will be created multiple times once she's in her perfected state with those emotions that are going with her, created within her afterwards, but not coming with her and or being left behind in her old Earth. It's a testing process.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Earth is known as the Great Experiment.
Are there any other significant seedings or seeding processes that are happening on Earth?
There are many of Lightworkers that are here to assist. Mainly, they're all focusing on love that has seemed to be lost throughout this process because of all these other emotions. The negative piece of this, of all these emotions, we know spreads quicker than positive ones.
Mm.
So that is occurring in this time, in this moment in which we talk on this planet of Earth, is just that. They're sending light. Light and love are the same. And so light workers, way showers, high soul vibrational being are all here to incorporate and seed more love. When one lives in a state of love, they are more positive. They live in more high vibrational emotions with high intent, such as happiness, joy, friendships, caring, kindness, determination, strength, confidence, and so forth. greed is such a, you would say, wildfire. Yes.
Yeah.
It spreads so quickly amongst all the other negative, lower vibrational emotions that has taken over this planet, essentially. So we're bringing more light workers, more seeders to raise that vibration so that that lower vibration of that population of such goes down, so that the old earth and the new earth can fully be split too.
And what about all the other emotions?
There is always a positive and a negative, and polarity, yes. A yin
Yeah.
and yang, and an up, a down, in, and without. So it is good to still have some of those, such as grief. We've learned so much from grief. It's healthy, but rage is not healthy. It's killing people. Anger, frustration, those sorts of emotions are healthy negative emotions that allow the positives to have a reaction. They'll always live in those negative spaces for a long period. Whereas those that are affected by greed, they seem to live and outlive generations. They're so heavy in density. And so those are keeping the density of the 3D down, and therefore not lifting the vibrations to a 4, a 5, a 6, and so forth. This is where we are seeking change. This is where there are light workers on Earth now, such as yourself, to lift those vibrational emotions that's proceeding. So we would say you are also a seeder, in a sense.
And
Really
you
up
just,
to emotions.
it really what?
It really all comes down to emotions.
Yes.
And that's why when we say Earth is, you're just emotional bodies, there is truth to that. And that's what makes Earth unique. Her emotions. Everything feels emotions on this planet. Everything. Everything has feeling, down to a blade of grass, down to a pebble rock, the tear out of one's eye. Everything has emotions. The seeding of emotions is a very big on-taking. So when we venture back to the life of Ma'at in what you would call the Book of the Dead, she's seeding emotions. She's testing their emotional state of their life in that incarnate, and the emotional state of which they need to progress or they need to repeat in the next incarnate. That is what she's weighing. She's weighing their emotional state. That is why the feather, you cannot weigh a feather against something physical and dense. The feather would never win. But when we talk about weighing against her feather, light for the feather, light, we're weighing her light against their emotional state of being in that incarnate. And what emotional state of being they either need or need removed or need to review and repeat in the next incarnate, or not. Really what she's weighing. Not their heart, not sins, you would call it, but their emotional state of being.
And you mentioned the viruses earlier in regards to these seeds of emotions. Can you say more about that?
A virus looks differently in its shape and symbolism when it's floating through the air would be the way to describe it. But so, for example, if you would associate love with a heart, and let's say when you have a feeling of love, it radiates the shape of a heart into the vibrational pattern. Although you may not see it, that's what shape it creates, let's say. With something like greed, it creates its own shape. Let's use a dagger, for example. And that etherical dagger may even have a different color. Maybe it's black, like a void, like the darkness. And that etherical vibrational color and shape goes and attacks those hearts that may be green and heart shaped. Let's say, for lack of a better term, it kills those in its path and morphoses that heart shape into a dagger. And so all of a sudden, it's like the earth is being covered in black daggers vibrationally, thought or action towards greed, that emotion. Free will, everyone has free will to be greedy or not, or to react on greed or not, or to push greed away. What we see that many are choosing the black dagger over the green heart.
And you mentioned earlier that the Anunnaki put greed together. And was this intentional or was this an accident?
This was an accident. They did not mean to have that occur, but come to Earth as any being. So Anunnaki, reptilian, Pleiadian, whatever form you're coming to Earth on, when you enter the Earth's atmosphere, and you also take in those vibrations, right? And the atmosphere and the vibrational atmosphere. After your DNA, their DNA will shift and change too. It's not like an Anunnaki would come here in its pure form and after time of being here would not pick up DNA or vibrational energy that shifts and morphoses its own DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, in a sense, what occurred. When they just kept digging and digging for more mineral, more gold, that is pretty much what occurred. That shift, change in their DNA and thought process and their vibrational, emotional energy shifted. And they said, oh, we could use more, we could use more, we could use more. And then greed was created. The more, need. That is all. It's greed, power, control, all greed.
Are there certain seeds from which other seeds can be born, or is every emotion a separate seed?
Well, we would say every emotion is its separate seed, but there is hybrid seed, such as your gardening. If you take a split from one plant and a split from another and put it together and grow it, then it becomes a new flower, similar to emotion.
I see. And so Ma'at, you said Ma'at's job was to seed emotion on Earth.
Yes.
Okay.
Seed, you also have to experience to truly
To truly what?
to truly understand your seed.
And so,
When you plant seeds, you have to watch them grow. When you watch them grow is when you learn. When you learn, you understand what should stay, go, left behind. When you learn, when you learn, you understand who should have what seed next. Or you also can assist in the incarnation process of what emotions you're born into, like an empath, like a high sensitive person, like an angry person, like a psychotic person. We have, mm, those would be called personalities.
Mm. So you're saying you're born into?
You're all born with a personality.
Mm,
Those are your emotional seeds.
I see.
And then as you grow through your incarnates, you pick up other seeds.
Mhm.
But if we go back to the example of the Book of the Dead, when she's weighing against their emotional state and deciding what to bring into their next life, she's really picking out those seeds for their personality
Uh, uh,
that shapes who they start to be and who they are throughout their incarnate.
uh,
So the Book of the Dead really is about what personalities do I want to bring into my next life. So we will bring this up now because it makes sense in this point in which we're speaking. Things that people, those items people would bring to their deathbed, they want those things to be part of their new personality. A
for their
boat.
neck.
I would like a boat, and I would like to like boating, spend more time with boats. They're bringing these trinkets, if you will, to persuade or ask for from a heart, to ask to have that somehow play a role in their personality in their next incarnate.
Wow.
If people want to be died, mm, if people want to be buried with their children, it's because they wish that the souls of those children be with them in some form in their next incarnate.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is why you see in the Book of the Dead example, that very elaborate scroll
Mm.
who's telling a story of their life in that incarnate, what they would like to change in their next incarnate, and how they would like their personality to be seated.
Mm. And was this known by people in the ancient times, or was this not known?
It was known.
Mhm.
It's hard
And
to transcribe personality. Thoth was scribing a lot of this because it was difficult to describe personality and personalities into a new incarnate. That was hard to describe in that time frame in written form.
right.
They tried their best in picture, but as we can see, that was misconstrued.
And so somehow that knowledge and that knowing came lost along the way.
It did. It became lost, for it wasn't clear how to write it.
And so you mentioned that in order to plant a seed and grow the seed, you have to learn and experience it.
Yeah.
And so for Ma'at, how did that process, where did that process start of her learning?
She really had to truly understand and to next generations and generations and generations of Earth and its people, she had to start incarnating herself to truly understand for the new Earth's process.
And so when,
Yes. We would say prior to that, she was observing
okay,
the correct.
observing what?
She was observing those emotions and now she needed to go in and experience them herself.
Mm, I see. And so can you move now to the first incarnation where she went in and experienced the emotions for herself?
Yes, we're already going into the other portal.
Okay.
Yes.
As you move through the portal
Yes.
will take you back
Into a wool.
and describe that.
It's dark and tight.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of liquid, thicker than water moving around us. And we can see the skin and fingers and toes and the cord connecting us
Who
to
is
life.
we?
My mother and I.
Mm.
And then I'm coming out and it's bright and noisy and cold.
Mm.
I'm being held by my mother.
Who is your mother?
My mother is a peasant. She's poor, but she left me.
And what does she call you?
She calls me Peter.
Mm.
I'm a boy.
And what is Earth like at this time?
Earth is very simple. Earth is beautiful. The air is clean and fresh, and the sky is clear. The water is beautiful. I'm living in what you would call today as Europe, and the streets are they're just dirt, and the grass is plush. And as I move through this life, I experience many things. I experience farming and working as a team and being part of a community and feeling poor, feeling tired, feeling loved, feeling joy with my friends and my family, feeling of struggle. But then later I feel empowered and strength as I move through my life of being a father, the caretaker, and an excellent farmer. My life in 630 is not what you would describe or think of as glorious, but it is a good, solid, easy start of experiencing these seeds of which I planted.
Mm.
And I am experiencing this firsthand, and I sit in my space and feel how it feels in my body, in my mind, as when I was incarnate into 630 as Peter, a man, family, as a farmer. I was also highly sensitive. In all my incarnates, I've been highly sensitive and highly intuitive, as I need to be in order to truly understand the experience of which I've seeded.
Mm.
I am different in my incarnates because I have to understand all these emotions firsthand. And I may not understand my true nature till the end of each of my lives. And at the end of each of my lives, I have seeded myself to be awakened at the end of each of my lives, not the end, but towards the end, so that I can take note of these
Mm.
experiences, so that I know what needs to be going to the new earth left behind and move forward. So We started in 630 BC, and we've incarnated 80 times since. We meaning Universal Mother, Ma'at, Angie, the soul, the collective soul. And each time we have awakened. Angie is her natural progressive state at this time and her incarnate to her awakened state. Part about this incarnate for her, as you are probably understanding in this moment, is that this is the final documentation. That is important to note. This book in which you write is Ma'at's final documentation of seeding the new earth.
And why is it the final documentation?
She will no longer incarnate. They'll awaken on this planet at this time.
What will awaken?
This is her final awakening incarnate.
Okay.
Yes. She will ascend.
And so going back to this life in 630 as Peter, you'll find yourself in the body of Peter during a significant time in that life.
Yes, his wife died of childbirth on their third child.
And what's
That-
happening?
She was trying to give birth to a child that was backwards. I think you would call that breach. When there's blood everywhere. Everywhere.
And so seeing this blood everywhere through the eyes of Peter,
He was so scared and he felt hopeless and it's sad and mad and as if he just hopeless. He couldn't help and helpless. At one point he felt like he just wasn't a man as a man was portrayed to be. He had a lot of grief and some resentment of the child from which she worked while she died. And it was sad to see the struggles of that process. Hopelessness and helplessness and anger and sadness all wrapped up into one ball with a lot for a human body. Over time, their children grew and he did not have a good relationship with that little girl. And over time, it killed him.
What killed him?
Yeah. They killed his body. It stressed his body. And he died of a heart attack.
What exactly stressed his body and killed him?
The resentment, the grief, the stress of raising children by himself without a female at that time was very difficult. The resentment of his child, who always tried to have a bond, but he would push her away. Before his heart attack, he had his awakened state a few months before the heart attack. In that time, he journaled. And when you journal, you send that energy out into the universe. You send those vibrations out. They're all recorded. And in his awakened state, spiritually, he recorded all of those memories and all those feelings. But he died of a heart attack from all those emotions in his body.
And so moving now from the life of Peter and into the inner life, the space between lives, looking back on that incarnation of Peter.
Yeah.
What was significant? What was learned? What seeds were important from that life?
The resentment.
The resentment. And why was that important? Why is that significant?
Resentment feeds into other emotions, but resentment itself is basically a broken heart. And resentment gets stuck in your body, in your arteries, which are the reasons heart attacks occur. That was important to note.
That resentment
Harbors it into your arteries, lives there. When untreated, it causes a heart attack. Grief, also a broken heart attack. What we will find as we move through this journey, one of the things Ma'a is really trying to understand as well and experience throughout her lifetimes is what is killing humanity. Because in the new earth, people will live longer. In new earth, you will join in harmony with other beings that also live longer. Outside of earth live longer because they don't experience all these emotions. So you see it circles back to understanding how these emotions work within the human frame of their holistic body and the reactions they have with keeping it solid, you would say, or to keep it moving along. We are understanding that is that part of this process of seeding new earth is under how to keep the human body in a longevity state, or rather a state of longevity, you would say, with peace and harmony and love.
And why is that important for the new earth?
Because there will be many beings and hybrids of new earth and to have a fair share of experiencing life in new earth. Want one species to only live and then die in 50 years while the rest are there for 200 to 500 years. That is not an experience.
And what is the point of new earth?
There is so much, but we will not get into that today.
Okay.
Ready yet? We would say that'll probably come at the end.
We would say what?
That will come in the end.
I see. The purpose of new earth will come at the end.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else important to explore today?
No, we think that is a good start.
Okay.
Go into other, we would say not all 80 incarnates are important. Well, they're important, yes, but not in the context of this book. We will dive into others that have relevance. They're pertinent to this book. We would say another life for the next sun would be 972 BC.
Okay. Well, thank you for speaking with me.
Of course, thank you. We do appreciate your questions. Helps the story along.
Okay. Oh, Angie, feeling yourself coming back to wholeness, saying whatever words of completion you feel called to say, any guides or support that have assisted you and us today.
We would say we are today. Thank you. And we love you.
Thank you.